independent voters are such a curious thing because when they're voting, they don't really seem all that independent. Good evening once again, everybody. This is Hell's Unicorn once again, and this is just going to be a brief little reaction to the latest reality check, in which Ben Swan has very eloquently pointed out the fact that in several so-called battleground states, independents are turning away from Mitt Romney. Who are they turning to? According to the polls, well, in rather massive numbers, they are turning to Barack Obama. I submit to all of you that whether these people turn to Mitt Romney or to Barack Obama is not really important. What is important, that they're not turning somewhere else. And thus, I have a small and modest proposal. We should cease and desist in referring to these people as being independent voters, because it doesn't really square with the implicit definition. Instead, we should refer to these people as unaffiliated establishment voters, because they're polling as supporting establishment politicians, but they're not officially affiliated with the so-called state parties. So in other words, what this basically means is that they are making a principled stand against the idea of party corruption, but they are perfectly fine with that party corruption getting elected to high office. I submit to you the following. If independent voters really wanted to make some kind of a real difference, they would mass themselves in some viable, ideologically sound third party. And in this case, you have two options, either the Constitution Party or the Libertarian Party. Or if they wanted to express themselves in a ideologically unsound but still organized way, they could join up with the American Socialist Party or the Green Party. I would argue that they would be a little bit on the kooky side for doing that, but at least they would be mounting some kind of a serious counter effort and showing some actual independence, so to speak. No, what the American independent voter actually is, in my personal opinion, is a person that wants to be themselves but still go along with the crowd. I am an individual, but I'm going to do stuff exactly the same way as everybody else over there. Personally, from my standpoint, I think it's much more prudent and much more intelligent to simply make an ideological point rather than simply to insist based on affiliation that I am an individual and thus capable of thinking outside the box. You can be standing outside the box but leave your brain inside there. And that's what I argue that these particular independent voters are doing. When upwards of 90% of independent voters are voting for not so independent candidates, it brings into question the level of independency going on with these so-called independents. And you'll forgive me for all of the dependency that I have on the rhetorical device of endless repetition. Until next time, with prudence to myself and benevolence to all of you, good evening.